Happy Monday, Flosstube. It is Monday, May the 6th. And I had such a great weekend. I really had such a great weekend. Sarah was away on a class trip, a school trip this weekend, and she was in Chicago and she had a fabulous time. Oh my goodness, she kept sending me pictures of what she was up to, and they saw everything and did everything that they could fit into just a couple of days. It was a music trip, so they went to see the Chicago Symphony on Saturday night. They went to the aquarium. Oh goodness, what else did they do? Oh, she saw Hamilton. I haven't seen it yet, but my child has seen it. They had an amazing time. This was their senior trip because she is almost done high school, just a few weeks left, and my youngest child will be finished high school, which is shocking, frankly. But anyways, she had a wonderful time. John opened up the cottage this weekend, so we are ready to go. Bring on the summer. Can't wait. More about the cottage in a little bit. So I'm going to change things up today, and moving forward, let me know whether you care or not. I'm going to move I'm going to talk about my whips and my stitching at the front end of the podcast, and I'm going to save the from the mailbag section until after I've shared all of my stitching, because I've had really great comments and feedback from people who are really enjoying the from the mailbag section. But I also know that I'm very chatty, and I'm sure that there are some of you that are just coming just to see the stitching, and time to move on because there's a lot of Flosstube out there to watch. So I'm going to front load the beginning of the podcast with all of the stitching goodness, and then if you care to stick around for the rest from the mailbag, from the discussions that we have in the comment section, questions and comments that get sent to me, then feel free to stick around. However, if you're just here for the stitching, then off you go after we're done, and you can go and enjoy all of the thousands of other Flosstube videos that are out there. And I have like 7 Flosstubes to mention today, because you guys have been leaving me letting me know in the comments that you have Flosstube channels, which I'm so thankful for. So I'm more than happy to mention your channel. I have not been able to go and visit everybody that mentioned they had a channel, because there is just not enough time in my day. However, I'm really going to try hard to make sure that I go and visit everybody who tells me they have a Flosstube channel. I'm going to really try my best to go and make sure that I visit you at least once, and then put you in my list there. So much Flosstube. It's just, isn't it amazing? It's so fun. Truly. Okay, so starting out with the Because Monday giveaway and draw, because it's Monday, a little bit of happy to start our week off right. Last week's giveaway was this full Riolis kit for a baby announcement. And I had 20 comments on the Facebook posting for the giveaway. Comment number 6 was the random number generator comment that Siri picked for me this morning. And the winner was Taya Shavana. I think I made my best attempt, but I'm pretty sure it's Taya is how you say your first name. Please correct me if I'm wrong, because I like to at least have an idea of where these little goodies are going out, and think of your name correctly in my head when I'm addressing it to you. So congratulations. I hope that you love stitching it. That buggy is super cute. So I've been going through my stash, and I've decided to start adding in a few of the patterns in my own personal stash, along with my other giveaway box of patterns that I have to give away on these draws, that are patterns that I know I'm just probably never going to stitch, because, well, I have more than I can stitch in 10 lifetimes. So the patterns that I know I'm never going to get to, I think I'm going to start tucking those into these draws as well, so that someone else can enjoy them, and they don't just sit unloved in my pile. And I would really like to see someone stitch this. Okay, so if you're a fan of Canadians, I like Canada. I'm a big fan. I live here. So today's pattern is in Ink Circles, Reflections of Canada. Reflections of Canada. Now, believe it or not, this was actually Thread and I exclusive when it first came out. Thread and I was my local needlework shop before the owners retired, and very good friends of mine. And this pattern was an exclusive at their shop, I'm gonna say for at least a month, maybe a little longer, when it first came out. And so I purchased this through them when it was an exclusive through their shop, because I thought that was pretty cool. And it was a fun way to support the shop, as well as I always love Ink Circles. But you know, I just don't think I'm ever gonna stitch it, because I have another Canadian design, and I'm gonna show you that in a minute. So this is the pattern that's up for grabs today. You can find the post for this giveaway over on the Facebook group, Friday Off the Grid, and just join us over there. We're a very busy group, and it's 99.9% stitching, with the odd cute baby and baby animal thrown in for fun, because I can't resist myself sometimes. But you know, this is the pattern up for grabs. If you love it, if you want it, leave me a comment on the Facebook post, and you too could possibly be the lucky winner of a Because Monday giveaway. So because I have it right in front of me, I'm going to show that with you now. The other Canadian design that I know I'm going to stitch, and in fact I'm hoping to start it in the next 2 weeks as part of my Mania party in my stash. This is a Cooler Classics design, and someone reminded me about this pattern on the Facebook group. It was, I think 123 Stitch was having this, they had this pattern on sale, and someone sent it and said, "Hey Caroline, have you seen this?" And I said, yeah, not only have I seen it, it's in my stash, fully kitted. So here you go. Are you ready? This is Cooler Classic, Oh Canada. And this is the Canadian design that I've wanted to stitch for a long time. And so I'm going for it. Do you want to see the fabric and the threads? Of course you do. So the fabric that I chose, I'm not a huge yellow person. So I did a floss toss. I chose all the flosses that the pattern calls for. And I know they're kind of, let me see if this works. So you can kind of see. It's a very bright sunny day out today. It's also lunchtime recess, so you'll probably hear some kids screaming, because they're not that far away from my house. So got all the DMCs, and so then Kathy, at the time that I kitted this up, Kathy was one of the owners of Thread and I, she pulled out some fabrics from the wall and said, you know, what do you like? And so I ended up going with this linen. It's kind of blowing out. It is called Amber. It's a 32 count amber linen. And so now you can see the colors of my floss up against that. The color that's over here is a little bit more true to what it actually is. So that's the Canadian design that I'm going to stitch. Okay, I also have some show and tell. I have a big show and tell today. I mean, I won't be able to talk about it for very long, because I just have a picture of it, because I gave it away, my secret stitching, but I'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to save that for last. I had mentioned that I wanted to share with you another landmark piece that I had finished and stitched and finished for my daughter, and that I had the companion piece as well. So I left this in the plastic packaging so that I can show you. Hopefully you can see the picture okay. Sorry for the crinkling. This is the stained glass sunflower, and I know full well that a few of you at least have like quickly scurried off to go and find this chart, because it is stunning. My friend Virtuti is actually stitching this particular design at the moment. It is fabulous. It is truly stunning. Stunning. So as you can see, there are 2 patterns in the stained glass collection. and I have finished the iris. So because there's so much glare, I'm actually going to take a separate little video of just a really quick little video so that I can show you nice and up close the iris, because there's glass, and so I'll just get too much glare. You won't be able to see it properly. But I wanted to show you this because this has the fabric and all the DMC floss that it calls for. And look at those colors. Look at those colors. They're so bright and happy. I am doing this on the pattern calls for a 14 count Aida. I'm doing it on a 16 count Aida because I like the coverage that I get with 2 strands on the 16 count Aida. It's a little bit smaller, and I have a feeling that my friend Virtuti is doing it on a 20 count Congress cloth or Hardanger fabric. I can't remember. And then we're going to get into, sorry, I'm crinkling here, but I was trying to double check the size of my fabric, make sure it's not 18 count. Oh, it is 18 count. My apologies. Okay, because I know I did the other one on exactly the same fabric. So it's an 18 count. It's an 18 count Aida. 2 strands. 2 strands over 2, well, 2 strands on Aida of DMC floss. And it gives a beautiful, like, really good coverage. So, kind of excited about that. Yeah, the fabric's probably going to have a couple of really good creases in it because it's been in this bag for a while. But I'm good with that. It's a full coverage piece. You're never going to see those creases when I'm done. By the time I'm done, I'm good with that. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you that the finish right now. Isn't that beautiful? It's so bright, and just the purple just, you know, sort of leaps off the canvas, as it were, and my daughter really loves it. So I would like to stitch the second one and also gift her that as well so that she has the pair. Okay, now for my big reveal, my big show and tell. I finished something, and not only did I finish something, I fully FFO'd this thing. And it was a gift. It was a secret stitch gift that I made for KraftyKim. I'm sure you all know and love KraftyKim. She has been making Flosstube videos since the very beginning. She has hundreds of episodes on her channel, and it is the woman that you meet in person is exactly the person that you meet on Flosstube. She is the sweetest, nicest person that I have the privilege of calling a friend. And Kim has stitched 2 things for me and gifted me with 2 really special treasures that I love. 2 ornaments. Well, one of them I don't hang on my tree. One of them I actually hang on my front door as a decoration at Christmas time. It's the mittens, and you can see a picture of it on episode 15, I think. I'm holding it in the screen cap, and you can see it. There's a pair of mittens on it, and it's done on she finished it on a piece of craft wood snowflake that she painted from, I think she got it at Michael's, but she finished it beautifully. And then last Christmas she gifted me a bird house ornament, and honestly, I mean, she always puts so much thought and love into her gifts and her friendship that I thought, okay, I knew I was going to be seeing her yesterday, Sunday. I knew I was going to be seeing her, and I thought, okay, now's your chance. Because I've had a pattern that I've wanted to gift to her for over a year. When we met, she was stitching an AuryTM, AuryTM pattern that was gorgeous. And so I had this AuryTM pattern that I purchased over a year ago with Kim in mind to gift it to her, but I also wanted to give her a handmade gift with it. So it only took me a year, but I finally pulled it together. So I chose a Stitcherovia pattern. there were 4 patterns total, and I chose 1 to stitch for Kim. And then I fully finished it into a project bag for her. So someone very kindly took a photo of us at the Stitch-In yesterday in Hamilton, and that person was Jen of Stitching Social fame. So thank you, Jen, for taking our picture. And I'm going to put that picture in right here so that you can see proof that not only did I finish something, but I fully finished something and I gave it away. I gave away my stitching. I know. Who am I? So here you go. Pretty cool, right? I finished it and she seemed to like it. She seemed to like it. I think she was pretty happy with it. So, whew, that is now been taken care of. And I'm really glad that I finally got to make her something beautiful, because she's given me so much. So again, thank you, Kim. All right, I am moving into my whips. So I've just shown you the bag that I made for Kim. I spent a lot of time on that over the last week. So that was really, I'm opening a project bag. That was the most amount of stitching that I did. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that Hamilton Stitch-In just a minute. Well, I guess I'm going to roll it into talking about my whips, because I took 2 whips with me yesterday. It was an all-day event. See, I'm talking about it now. Here you go. It was an all-day event in Hamilton, Ontario, at the, well, I won't say the details live on YouTube. If you are living in the area and you want to come, there's a Facebook group you can join. Message me for more information. So we got together, maybe how many people were there? I'm going to say 20, if I have to guess, 20. And I recognized most of the people that were there from the previous stitch-ins, and it was so nice to see everybody. I took 2 projects with me to work on for the day. One of them being my Glendon Place tiramisu that I am hoping to finish the stitching on before Ginger Gerald finishes Henry. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm kind of starting to think that I bit off way more than I can chew, especially dealing with, I have a bit of tendonitis at the moment in my hand, my thumb, I should say. And an aside, thank you so much to everyone who has sent well wishes and kind thoughts and advice on my hand. And even if just to say I had the same thing and this is what I'm doing, and so appreciated and so helpful. I will be getting a compression glove later this week, and physio appointments and so on and so forth. I'm taking care of it. I also have, and it's not here, it's in the kitchen. I found it's called the Groovy Gripper, and it is, it looks like a humongous old-fashioned telephone receiver, and it's got 2 suction cups on it, and it suctions right onto my ruler, my cutting ruler for cutting fabric, and then I don't have to hold my thumb the way I was holding it before, which I shouldn't have been doing. And I think that's what has caused the problem. However, so now I can hold my hand differently and deal with it. So thank you very much. So I took 2 projects, the tiramisu and my Lizzie Kate mystery, the Christmas mystery stitch along, that of course was a mystery in 2017. It's no mystery anymore. So long story short, I forgot to bring my tiramisu pattern with me. Yeah, so that was a good discovery to have when I got there. Hamilton is about an hour and a half drive from where I live, so I couldn't exactly turn around and go home and get the pattern. Fortunately, I had brought a backup project, because my plan was to spend the whole day on tiramisu and really make some good progress on it. But I thought, you know, just in case I get bored, or just in case I want something different to work on, I'm going to bring that Lizzie Kate, and then I can work on that. So Thank heavens, because otherwise I would have had nothing to stitch on. So I took my Lizzie Kate, Spirit of Christmas, and an enormous shout out to my friend Robin, who I got to spend most of the day with. She sat beside me. Robin lives in St. Catharines. I am good friends with her and her daughter Sarah. They're both amazing stitchers. And Robin was watching the podcast a few weeks ago when I mentioned that I had seen Connie G. Connie G Stitches was talking about how she had just purchased the Buttons and Notions add-on for this design, and how I was then considering it. Well, Robin had purchased the kit, and apparently it comes with enough beads and notions to do all of the extra each. So there are three different patterns that make this up. So 1, 2, and 3. But the bead pack includes enough charms and beads to do the extra supplemental small designs that Lizzie Kate included in with the charts. But Robin knew that she wasn't going to do those extra small patterns, so she had leftover beads and she gifted it to me. So how kind was that? So the only one that I'm missing is the little rose that's on the C. I have all of the buttons and beads now for all of the rest, and I'm gonna just replace that little rose with I have the charms that I put on the bags. I have a couple of smaller ones that are sort of a bronze color, so I'm gonna look through what I have, and I'm going to put a different little charm instead of the rose that's there on the C. And so thank you again, Robin. It was really very, very kind of you to bring that for me. So I actually made, and I can see that I left my needle mid-stitch. Shame on me. I can't believe I did that. I just left the needle hanging out of the fabric. I left kind of quickly yesterday because my parents were, anyways, you don't need to know that. Well, I guess I should finish my sentence. My parents were ready to go out for dinner, and they had arrived a little early, so I packed up a little quickly so that they weren't waiting for too long before. So actually, and now my needle is jammed into the batting. Anyways, this is going well. So here's where I got to yesterday. So the last time you saw this, I only had the word Christmas done. So at the retreat yesterday, and we're talking from, I was there from 10:30 until 6:15, and that's all I did. So I finished the words. I did this little line here, and I did about these few stitches there. That's it. That's all the stitching I did. And I have a feeling that none of you are shocked because of the amount that I talk. I'm just gonna hold this up. Maybe you can see that there. Ooh, that's good. Look at that. That's so pretty. I love those colors. And yes, I know I didn't start in the middle. Every time I look at this, it's annoying, but not annoying enough to start it all over again, to start in the middle of the fabric the way I should have. However, I have plenty of room for finishing it, so I'm not concerned. It's just, it looks kind of odd in the Q snap because it's so far over to the side there. Anyways, what are you gonna do? So yeah, so a little bit of progress on that. So far, my Stitch Mania is not much of a mania after all. I haven't started the new things I wanted to start. I haven't even moved on from projects that I was working on in April. But I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. So I should mention a couple more things about my day in Hamilton yesterday. It was so funny. I got a mess, and I haven't even answered you back yet, Susan. So I'm telling this story before I've even messaged you. I posted on Instagram a photograph of KraftyKim's piece that she was working on. Black Lace Sampler by Rosewood Manor. If you haven't seen it, if you're unaware of this piece of beautifulness, look it up because it is going in my shopping cart later this week because it's stunning. And you look at the picture and you're like, yeah, that's okay. And then I saw Kim working on it and I couldn't stop staring at it. That's probably why I barely got any stitching done, because I was so interested in what Kim was doing that I found myself, I would be like, oh, I'm watching Kim again, right? Do a few more stitches. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, right. It's so beautiful. It's amazing. She's stitching it on a 28 count white even weave. And the black, and here's the thing, I don't like doing back stitching, and there's a lot of black work in it, but it's a mix of black work and cross stitch. In the what makes the border look like lace. And it was just so beautiful that I thought, I have to do that, even though it's black work and I'm not usually a fan. I'm so in love with this piece that I have to do it. The center of the design is done 1/1, one thread over one thread. She's doing it in the called for DMCs, and it is stunning. I received a message from Susan, Golden Stitcher on Instagram. And Susan private messaged me through the Instagram app, and she said, "Oh, you're in Hamilton. Is Jen McStitch and the Stitching Social Sisters, are they there too?" And I'm like, well, yeah, the Stitching Social Sisters are right there, but who's Jen McStitch? And it's Jen McStitcher, because I thought to myself, who's that? So I had my phone with me, so I looked up on the YouTube channel. I searched Jen McStitch, and it came up Jen McStitcher. So that I'm just saying that to myself to make sure that I get it right, because I want to go back in and I subscribe to her, but I'm going to just put it in the drop down box below. I went and looked her up on YouTube, and I saw her little picture, and I'm like, oh, she's sitting right over there. She has 2 videos out. She's cute as a button, and she is another local to me stitcher and new Flosstuber. So amazing. And I believe, Jen, it was also you flew around the room really fast. So my apologies if this was someone else, but I'm pretty sure that this was you. Jen passed out these adorable little DMC kits. They're tiny. It's a little mini kit. It's a little cyclamen. You know what I mean. It's right there. It's spelled right there. You can see what it is. And she passed one of these out to everybody. How adorable is that? I have a feeling I then heard from someone else that she had received these from Gitta's shop in Port Credit, I think. Jen, if you're watching this and I have that wrong, could you please correct me in the comments below? Anyways, hey Jen, welcome to Flosstube. Stitching Social Sisters. So fun to see them. And Jen is so very pregnant, and I'm telling you, she is like one of the most beautiful pregnant ladies I've ever seen. She's so close. She's so close. I think she has 3 weeks left, and she just looks so beautiful. I couldn't stop staring at her. She just looked so, between Kim's black work and Jen's adorable baby bump, that's totally why I barely got any stitching done. It had nothing to do with the fact that I talk a lot. So, who knows? I am drinking water today. Water. This is a plastic reusable cup that I got at Starbucks, and because I'm, hipster cool, it's a reusable metal straw. I'm really not hipster cool. I think, less waste is always a good idea. So, water. More about that at the very end of the podcast. I won't bore you with it right now. So yeah, I'm kind of, you know what? I have a feeling that I might just open this up and stitch that up because it's adorable. Okay, that is it for whips. That's all the stitching I've done. So I'm going to take a little break right here to put a little ad in this video on here on YouTube, and come back with from the mailbag. Be right back. Okay, if you've come back, if you have decided to stick around for the from the mailbag section, I have a few things to share with you today. From last week, I had several people leave me comments that they have a YouTube channel, which I love. And if I didn't get a chance to visit you yet, I always check the comments from the Monday's video before the following Monday. I go through everything on Monday morning. It takes me about an hour. It takes me about an hour to go through all the comments and hit the love button on everything, make sure I've read everything, and if there are questions and comments in there that I would like to discuss on today's episode, then I write some notes or I take a photograph of the comment and so on and so forth. So I haven't had a chance to go in and visit these Flosstube channels that you have so kindly told me that you put out yourself. So I'm going to list them out, and I'm going to leave notes in the drop down box below, so that you can also go and visit. And so, you know, I like to think about this a little differently from sort of like a proper shout out where, you know, I've been watching these channels for weeks and weeks and weeks, and so you have to go and watch this channel as well, because just like I said this a few weeks ago, I think, and I was just watching one of the Stitchers, Wendy's Stitching. She mentioned me in her latest video that I just watched this morning. A comment that I made a few weeks ago about, you know, any advice for new Flosstubers, or if you had to start over again, what would you do? And I said at the time, you should do it for yourself, first and foremost. Do it for yourself, because there is always going to be someone who has more or better or more subscribers or more likes or anything like that. And, you know, I'm really glad, because Wendy said that she was considering getting rid of her channel and not doing it anymore, but that she thought that that was really a great way to think about it, and that, you know, she was going to do it for herself. And the other thing is that not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody is going to like your particular style of stitching. Not everybody is going to like how you talk. I am positive that I probably drive people bananas. I'm always losing subscribers because, well, let's face it, I'm not the fastest stitcher. I never have a ton of progress on anything that I do. Part of the problem is that my pieces are so enormous that, you know, a snail could probably finish it faster than me. And I have so many of them on the go at the same time. I'm also a multi-crafter, so I knit and I sew a lot of bags. So there's a large percentage of stitchers out there who just want to see stitching, and a large part of my video has, you know, it's a lot of talk. It's a lot, well, I'm good at it. I can talk. So that's why if you are making Flosstube, please leave me a comment. And even if I haven't watched you, I'm still gonna suggest your channel, and I'll still put it in the drop down box below for other people to check you out. And if you are checking out a new Flosstuber, do us all a favor and just leave the thumbs down alone. You know, nobody needs that. And if you are making Flosstube videos and you get the thumbs down, try not to let it affect you, because everybody gets them. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you talk about. Talk about just stitching, talk about nothing but not stitching. You're going to get a thumbs down. And it's slightly annoying because you think, why? What did I do? And then, you know, after so many of them, you're like, whatever. You can't make everybody happy. So you're going to get a few thumbs down. Just don't even worry about it. Just move on. Keep making videos for yourself. So even though I haven't watched everybody that I'm going to mention here, someone out there may find your channel, and you might just meet your very best friend tomorrow. You never know. So that's why I'm always happy to list Flosstube channels in this section from the mailbag. I'm going to list them out, and I'm going to put them in the drop down box below. So first we have PackyKnitDesign. There's no S on the end. PackyKnitDesign. She says this is mostly a knit and crochet podcast, but that she's recently started adding in a few Flosstube videos as well. So PackyKnitDesign. Next up we have Lindsay, the Scruffy Kitty. That's a pretty great name. I've met a few scruffy kitties in my past, so I can only imagine the love that you must have for your kitty. I'm assuming that you have a cat, maybe a long-haired cat. I don't know. I'm always interested in people's Flosstube names. It's fun. Wendy Stitching, who I've already mentioned. Leslie Hurley. Leslie Hurley left me a comment and said, oh, I have a Flosstube channel. I'm like, yeah, I know, Leslie. I know you have a Flosstube channel because you're awesome and adorable. She also just put out her 71st episode. I mentioned last week was my 70th. Last week was her 70th as well. So we are Flosstube twins, Leslie and I. Next up, Finding Judy. Finding Judy, small caps, all one word, Finding Judy. Judy is brand new. She has 2 episodes up, and she's one that I have not gone to visit yet, but I'm looking forward to going to check out her channel. So now the other person who I want to mention in here, because she left me a comment, but she didn't mention that she has a Flosstube channel, but I know she has a Flosstube channel, and it's Marlene from Stitchinbythelake. Marlene can brighten up any cloudy day. If you go and watch her channel, you will instantly feel lifted spirits because she's a lovely soul. So that's it for Flosstube mentions. Again, I will leave everybody's channel in the drop-down box below. You may find a new favorite friend. So thanks again for everybody that left me their channel name. Next up, last week we had a question from someone about DMC needles and whether or not it was a known problem that there was some kind of flaw in the eye and that would catch on threads. I had really mixed bag reaction to this question. People both loved them or didn't like them at all. Some people did have the same problem, that they caught in the eye and frayed their threads, and others were like, oh, use them all the time, have no problem. So again, I think that is just it's just going to be a personal preference thing. And if you found that you didn't like it that once, you're probably not going to like them again. Jill Bennett. Jill Bennett wanted to know, what's wrong with licking floss? That question made me laugh. Because, well, I'm a floss licker, and I'd say, nothing's wrong with licking floss. To the best of my knowledge, licking floss, what it does is, first of all, you're going to notice that the end of the floss where you've licked it, over time, it's going to fray and it's going to get a little puffy at the end. So there's that. You're probably not going to be able to use every last scrap of the floss if you want it to look its best. The other thing about licking floss, if you are stitching, let's say you're stitching like 2 strands together, you've licked the end, and then of course that end is folded over through the needle, right? Well, that end that you've licked is now laying against the rest of the floss that is then being pulled through your fabric a million times, right? Maybe not a million. Can't get that many stitches out of one length of floss. But it is rubbing against those other fibers that weren't licked that you are hopefully going to be putting into your stitching, and it can cause them to wear a little faster. I believe I'm going back in my memory to the conversation I had with Kathy like 15 years ago about licking floss. So to the best of my recollection, it's that it can dull the floss that it's rubbing up against, and it's also being pulled, you know, that little bit of dampness is being pulled through your fabric, and it's not desirable. However, there are those of us who do it, and big hand up, I'm a floss licker. So, you know, if there's anyone else out there who has like more information about why we shouldn't lick our floss, you know what to do. Please leave me a comment below. Oh, this next one made me laugh. This next one really made me laugh. 2 people wanted to know, Ivy House Crafter and Shoeless Monk 1. Shoeless Monk 1, they both wanted to know what the heck those huge rolly things were behind my head in the last 2 videos that I did up in my storage room. Well, let me tell you, that is my storage room. So you know I have a sewing business. Those are the rolls of batting. That is what goes on the inside of all of my Evertote bags. It's quilt batting. It's an 80-20, it's an 80-20 cotton blend. So it's 80% cotton, 20%, man-made. And I buy it. It took me a long time to find the one that I like the best. I went through, that's a whole other story in itself, let me tell you. So that batting I import from the States, from a company called Mountain Mist. Mountain Mist used to sell, actually no, it's the company that I import it from is not Mountain Mist. The brand is Mountain Mist. I import it from the people who make it, so the manufacturer of Mountain Mist from the States. Because there was only one supplier in Canada who was selling it, and they stopped carrying it. And then I couldn't find it anywhere in Canada. And I couldn't find a substitute that I liked because I don't use fusible fleece. I don't use a fusible interfacing in my bags. My bags are kind of, they're a bit squishy. They're like, I like the feel of a like a project hug, right? It's I don't know, it's just my preference. It's how I've always made the bags. I'm wording this badly. Anyway, I import it from the States. So last year, it took me a long time to find it and figure out the hoops that I had to jump through in order to bring it into Canada. And it was also quite expensive with when you factored in delivery, duty, and taxes and all that kind of stuff. So I had to make it worth my while. So I imported 10 rolls. I have gone through two and a half. So I don't go through them that fast, but it was worth my while to bring in that many. And I probably won't need to import any more until next year. But you know what? It's as you can see, they are wrapped in a nice thick plastic. They're protected, they're safe, they're clean, they're dry. They're a bit of my little precious cargo up in my studio. And every time I have to open a new bat, which I've only had to do a couple of times, it's kind of an event because it's a new big fresh roll of quilt batting. That's what it is. And thanks for asking. It kind of looked a little crazy over my head, didn't it? This big cone of batting over my head. Okay. Oh, I have to read you this comment. Okay. This is from, let me find it. Willow Dannon 2. And this, I loved this comment, so I'm going to read you pretty much the whole thing. So settle in. Willow says, and I'm sorry, I'm assuming your name is Willow. I had to smile when you talked about Nan's comment about the one rule in cross stitch. On my return to cross stitching after a long hiatus, the internet didn't exist when I had last done the craft, to give you an idea of how long it had been. I started stitching the way I remembered, top left to bottom right, then top right to bottom left. After around 10 to 15 stitches, I discovered Flosstube, and someone said they prefer to go the other way, bottom left to top right, bottom right to top left, so that they can easily work their rows from top to bottom. This made sense to me, so I immediately switched, but didn't change any of the previous stitches. Many stitches later, another Flosstuber mentioned the rule about all the stitches going in the same direction. Uh-oh. But I felt I had done so many stitches around those first few that pulling them out and redoing them at that point would have been really difficult, so I kept going. By the time I was done with the whole piece, the Riola's Hedgehogs kit from the Hedgehog Stitch Along that Ginger Gerald and Buckeye Stitcher started, I had completely fallen in love with this wonderful craft again. I kept looking at those backward stitches in the very center of my hedgehogs, but by this time I didn't really want to fix it. Not because it would be too difficult, but because for me, those backwards crosses had become symbolic of my rediscovery of cross stitch and learning the craft anew. I'm picking up the FFO'd piece tomorrow, and it's going to be a gift for my boyfriend's mother. but I know that every time I see it, I will see those backward stitches and be reminded of how those mistakes were the first steps into the joy that stitching brings me today. I'm serious, like I'm getting a little bit misty-eyed here because that is so wonderful. Isn't that wonderful? I love that. I love that. And that's why there aren't any rules in cross stitch. If it works for you, it's perfect. And thank you so much for sending me that, because that just made my day. Okay, Carolyn Zook left me a question about the cottage. So just briefly about the cottage. She says, I have a question for you for when you go to the cabin. Do you ever find you bring way more than you use, or that you miss a lot of things you wish you brought with you? Or do you have it all pretty much down to a science by now? I'm sure it's a lot of trial and error, but I'm just curious what some things are that you forget to bring or bring too much of. That's a really good question, and it's one that it's kind of a thing that we deal with every summer. My husband goes back and forth so often. If I forget anything, I do without it for a couple of days, and then he brings it. He brings it for me. My daughter Sarah is very good at finding things. He's pretty good, but she's really good, and she knows where all my crafting things are. She also knows what things are. Last year, she had to hunt out my cone of DMC 310. She found it like that. John wouldn't have had a hope in you know what. So, yeah, I forget stuff all the time. I'm pretty bad at it, actually. But he is back and forth every week. I know enough. We also have groceries brought in once a week. So if you don't have it, you do without. And it's as simple as that. So I try to make sure that I have everything that I need for what I have to do. So if I know I'm making particular bags, or there's one or two projects in particular that I know I have to work on, I'll make sure I have those, and then we go from there. Some summers I get home a couple of times. Some summers I don't get home at all. So I think there's only been 1 or 2 summers that I haven't made it home at all. Last summer I came home twice. For once was less, it was 12 hours I was home for. Anyways, neither here nor there. I hope that answered your question. If we don't have it, we do without. So you just get used to making do with what you have. Oh, there was one more question. I couldn't find the question, but I remembered the question because I thought, oh yeah, it makes sense that I haven't really talked about that. If you're fairly new, sorry, my eye is still watering a little bit from Willow's. Anyway, such a sap. Okay, someone from Minnesota left me a question about where the island was. She was assuming that I was out in the ocean, not far from land. But no, we're in Georgian Bay on the Great Lakes. So Georgian Bay, Ontario, Canada. That's where our island is. And I had another comment from somebody who's across the other side of Georgian Bay, and how she was commenting on how different our side looks. And it's amazing, isn't it? You know, just a little change in geography, topography just changes so much. It's fascinating. So we are on a tiny little island in Georgian Bay, and there are literally 1,000 of them. Tiny, tiny, tiny little islands, all dotted near the shoreline of Georgian Bay. And I will, at some point, I'll put up a map so that, actually, you know what I'll insert a map right here. So I'm not going to show you particularly which island we're on, and I'm not going to, draw a pointer to it or anything, but you can see that it's the whole shoreline there is littered with islands. Many of them have cottages on them, many of them don't. I mean, a ton of that is crown land owned by the government. And even a huge percentage of our island is owned, it's crown land. So the island that we're on is about 75 acres. My father-in-law is on 5 acres. John and I are on 5 acres. Around the corner, there are 3 other cottages that are in a small grouping. That is another family and relatives that own those 3 cottages. And then on the way on the other side, there's one other cottage on the very other end of the island, and one family lives there. And then the entire rest of the island, the entire interior of it, and the whole other shoreline is all Crown land, and it's beautiful. You can walk around the entire island in about an hour and a half. So it's a pretty special place. So Georgian Bay, Ontario, Canada, that's where we are. All right. So actually in Minnesota, it's even possible that you live further north than I do, which is pretty cool. Since most people tend to think of Canada, neighbors to the north. Well, there's a big chunk of the U.S. where we are in southern Ontario, southwestern, southern. I'll show you the map so you can see it. Anyways, I hope you found that interesting. Okay, I had another great question about a lap stand, and this was from Sarah Cameron. Sarah Cameron left me a question about my lap stand. She says, I have been debating purchasing a new one, as the one I had got lost in a move several years ago. The one I had attached to a frame on either side and was basically like a pair of legs. I quite liked it, but it was handmade, and I purchased it in a needlepoint shop that now no longer exists, so I can't easily replace it. I placed it over my lap so that the legs were on either side. I'm considering a case creation lap stand, but I'm unsure about the bottom, as it seems to be a flat board you balance across your lap. How do you find that? Or do you place it on a table? I'm also curious about opinions from other viewers. So to hear that, if you have a lap stand, chime in down below. A lap stand is a rather big investment. My old one was nearly $100 when I bought it over 20 years ago, and I would really love to hear some opinions. Thank you and everyone else in advance. Okay, so I was just talking about this yesterday because I do use my case creation lap stands. I have 3 of them. I use them all the time. I use them interchangeably with my scroll rods from my Hearthside Craftworks floor frame. I use them all the time, and I really like them. If I had to tomorrow go out and buy a new lap stand, and this is simply my opinion, my budget, my everything, you know what I mean, right? So if I had the money tomorrow to go out and buy a new lap stand, I would go on the Hearthside Craftworks website and I would buy one of their lap frames. They have that exact kind that you were just mentioning. It's got the 2 legs. You can put them right over your lap. You can sit on a couch and have it right over your lap. The height of the stitching is adjustable from the sides of the stand. 2 people that I know have bought one very recently. Patty Brake from Newfoundland, 4 boys and a Newfoundland girl. And let me tell you, I've got a little secret. Patty's got something coming out on her Etsy shop very soon. And I've told her that she has to tell me that as soon as it's up, because I want to like run over there and buy it as soon as it comes up. Just a little heads up there. I'll let you know. I'll let you know as soon as it's up. I'll let you know what it is and that it's available. So Patty Brake from Newfoundland, she bought one, and Miss Patty, who we all know and love, her daughter Carrie, who is just as fabulous as her mother, she bought one too. And I had an up-close look at hers at the last stitching retreat that I went to with Patty and Carrie. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. It's handmade. It's solid oak. It is, I'd say it's the Rolls Royce of frames, bar none. It is spendy. It's pricey. So Hearthside Craftworks, they are out in Calgary, Alberta, and I really, like, they don't know who I am from, the person next door. They really, honestly, they have no idea who I am. I receive no money for advertising for them. I have had my floor frame for over 10 years. I use it every day. It's an incredible piece of needlework, tool work. It's my best tool in my toolbox for my stitching. I love it. I use it every day. I would buy one of their lap frames in a heartbeat, knowing the quality of what I already have. I've heard from other people who have bought from them on my recommendation, and they have been equally happy. They don't know who I am. I've never talked to them in person, so I hope I'm sending them a lot of business. I really do. I hope I'm sending them a lot of business because I love my I love my floor frame. I'm considering buying another lap frame, but it's really hard to justify when I already have 3 K's Creations, and they work perfectly well. So yeah, that's hard to justify, but I will say they're worth every penny. So I hope that answered your question. If you use a lap frame and you have some advice, or you absolutely adore what you're using and you want to leave Sarah a comment, please leave me a comment below. I probably won't read them all next week in this section. I'll probably just direct people to go and read the comments next week, because I've talked about it quite a lot today. Thanks, Sarah. Great question. Okay. Last but not least, let me just check, make sure that's last. Yes, I did. I talked about that and that and that. Okay. Question from Kyle. Last but not least. Kyle says, what are some interesting quirks you have with your stitching, knitting? And I don't mean something like being a thread licker. I'm talking doing something fairly bizarre. For instance, my grandmother would always stick her sewing needles in the curtains when she wasn't using them. I wish I had something quirky that I do, but I couldn't think of anything. If you can't think of anything, that's okay, but it could definitely start an interesting conversation in the chat, which is for sure. You know, I had a good think about it, and I would have liked to have met your grandmother, first of all, because I think that does sound quirky and charming. I don't think I have any weird habits. I probably do, but because there is something that I do without thinking about it, I know that I have a real thing about other people wanting to put a stitch in my project. I don't like that. So if we're ever at a retreat and you meet me and you're like, oh, I want to put a stitch in your project. No, I'm sorry. That's not going to happen. And it's not because I think you're going to do a bad job. It's because then I didn't do it all. I have to do it all. Every stitch. My mother offered to finish a knitting project for me, I think. I can't even remember what it was now. I've blocked it out. She offered to finish something for me, and I said, oh no. Oh no. I can't do that. I have to finish it. I can't be finished by anybody else. Otherwise it doesn't count. It's like cheating. When I hear about people sitting down, I think it was Michelle Bendy who said she sat down and she finished someone else's project. I was like, you did what? And Michelle, I'm sorry, but I would have, I'm not sure. I probably would have politely said thank you and then fumed about it all the way home. But, and I'm sure that the person you did it to, you did something to her. I'm sure that they didn't mind. You guys are obviously clearly very close. Maybe this is a common thing that happens at retreats that I'm unaware of. But I'll tell you this, I'm headed to the Flosstube, New Jersey retreat, and okay, there's my quirk. Don't put any stitches in my stitching for me, because I won't be very happy. That's it. I think that's probably my weirdest thing that I should be a little embarrassed about. I don't know. Anyways, there you have it. Okay, that's it. That's it for me from the mailbag. So clearly I have no shop update today because the shop is closed. I have a couple of orders still that were queued up in the shop before I closed down that I still need to get out. I've been taking my time because of my thumb, but now that I have my ruler back, I can get those up and out the door within the next couple of days. So if you've been waiting patiently, thank you very much. The shop will reopen May 22nd again with some new bags because I've got a few things in the works. Other than that, if you are still watching this video at the very end of it, And this is why I left this to the end, because if you're still watching here at the end of the video, I figure that we're friends. And this is probably a safe place for me to talk about it. I mentioned on my Friday video, not last Friday, but the Friday before, that I was considering starting a second YouTube channel of my own. And I have done that. So I'm a little nervous to be bringing this up because it's very personal. Now it's not, I don't think it's as personal as you could possibly be about things, but I have started another YouTube channel that is, it's to encourage myself towards daily healthy habits. The basic premise of it is, I asked Siri how many days were left until I turned 50, and I'm on day 4, so this was 4 days ago. There was 1,892 days left until I turned 50. And so I started a YouTube channel and I have called it 8 Glasses a Day. And I am just doing a like really, really unglamorous daily video vlog. It's not even a vlog. It's me talking for like 1 to 5 minutes about, you know, did I make progress today towards living a more healthy lifestyle? That's it. It's very unglamorous. It's very unedited. It's just, hey, here I am. I'm checking in. I'm being accountable. Because let me tell you, I want to feel better at 50 than I felt at 40. And I can only go up from here. So that's why more water, less coffee. That was the first thing that I chose to focus on. I'm on day 4. I added in a little bit of treadmill activity today. So that will be a quick chat in my video tonight. I'm not following a particular diet plan. I subscribed to Spark People, which is a free website and app that you can belong to. Now, fair warning, the ads can get fairly heavy on there. So you have to, if you want to put up with the free, you have to just, you know, stick through the ads. But I think that the app itself is worth it. I may actually upgrade to the premium version if I consistently use it for more than a month. And that's why I'm doing the daily videos, to keep myself accountable. And you know what? I'm going to guarantee you that it's not going to be exciting. It's not going to be overly interesting, but it's, you know, that I'm looking to be successful. I'm looking to become a healthier, more active person. I have a sedentary job, and heaven help me, sedentary hobbies. I can only go up from here. So, but I need that accountability. So if you follow me over there, I promise you I will never show before and after pictures in my underwear, because nobody wants to see that. And I will never talk about, you know, my starting numbers or where I want to get to. I will probably mention numbers. I have a specific goal in mind, but I'm not going to talk about, you know, this is how much I weigh and so on and so forth, because I don't think that really matters to you. What matters to you, I hope what matters to you, if you choose to come along with me, is that I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up every day. I'm going to show up every day for myself. And again, just like what I said before about making Flosstube videos, I'm doing this for myself. So I'm only going to, if there's anything unkind, it's going to be deleted as immediately as I can get to it. I'm looking for a little bit of support and a little bit of a, hey, you go, you're doing great, so on and so forth. But yeah, it's probably gonna be pretty boring. So fair warning, don't come over if you think that's gonna be kind of boring, because that's what it's gonna be. Just a daily check-in. So 8 glasses a day. I'll leave a link to it in the drop-down box below, should you be interested at all in me saying hello on a daily basis. And that's it. So I'm off to drink some more water. I'm off to, holy Hannah Banana. I have to get the kitchen ready because the flute choir ladies are going to be here soon. I have a feeling this is going to be a long video. But you'll notice that at the beginning I did not say I'm going to try and keep this short, because I knew it wasn't going to be short. Oh well, I'm good with that. Okay, happy Monday. Have a great week. I hope you find some joy today and tomorrow. And I'll see you on Friday for Friday Off the Grid. Have a great week. Happy stitching.